Hello. So thank you for joining my live. I'm a little, I guess, flustered this morning. This is my first time kind of doing everything on my own. Usually my husband helps me set it up and all that, and like a whole different camera thing. But yeah, hopefully all goes well. And this thing is actually like out and about doing its thing. So today I wanted to go over some of my choices that led for me to have gastric sleeve surgery. It was definitely a long time coming, and it was also kind of like the last resort. Like I tried the fad diets, I worked out, like you name it, I did it, and it just, those things weren't happening for me. But there was also a lot of stuff that led up to my eating issues. So I guess we'll kind of start at the beginning. And if you have any questions, like absolutely feel free to put them out there. I will most likely answer all of them. Pretty much an open book over here. So firstly, I was about 19 and I began a relationship with someone that I thought was, attentive and I'm not going to say a good person because there was tons of red flags and I knew that that person wasn't good, but I was made to feel like I was loved in a really difficult time in like my home life and that. So I latched onto it and I loved it and appreciated it. But even though there were those red flags, I thought that things would change. His addictions would stop and things would get better. I genuinely thought that I would be the one to help make this stuff happen. And little did I know it was me that was going to change and not for the good. So when I met him, I was doing things the right way. Like I was working out, I was eating better. I was still struggling with my weight. And way back then, I didn't know that my thyroid was already struggling and just slow. But I was doing these things, and when you're in a relationship, you think like I can be vulnerable with this person. I can tell him my insecurities, and those kind of things, will be held like a little better, and kind of, it's just, you trust that person. But these things that I would share definitely got turned around and used against me within a matter of like months. It was really, really fast. And I was made to think that I'm not a good person, that I was, not trying hard enough, that something's wrong with me, and not where, someone would tell you, like, you say, oh, I feel so unmotivated, or it's just not right, and that person would go like, no, it's not that way, or you're okay. I was made to feel like, yes, I'm not good enough, and that triggered a whole slew of things over time. I stayed in this relationship because I really thought things would get better. That was the hope. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. He'd tell me he loved me. He's gonna stop. He's going to stop doing these things. And I believed it. I mean, I was young, I was naive, I was very trusting, and I didn't know any better. And those red flags, I genuinely thought would like go away. So when those kind of vulnerable feelings would get thrown back at me, it was hurtful, and it affected my everything, like mental, physical, emotional health. And so I stopped trying, I stopped working out, I stopped eating right, and the weight that I had lost like the couple years before I had met him, started to come back. And then the cycle was repeated. You're not good enough. What's wrong with you? You're too fat. You're too dumb. You're too ugly. Like, so that kind of stuff is really, really hard to deal with. And I didn't know back then that things I'm being told are gaslighting. So years of this went on. And again, I stuck it out with the hopes that it was going to get better. But because it didn't, and this stuff's being told to me daily, I got eating disorder. I had anorexia and I just wouldn't eat. And then it morphed into bulimia when I had to eat around people. And that was something I kept in. He didn't know that that was happening, but it was a way for me to control these feelings that I had throughout all of this. So those were really hard, and that lasted for years, on and off. Some would be really, really bad, and other times not so bad. The manipulation is a very real thing, and it kept me in that relationship. I ended up having 2 kids, and they're wonderful. I love them, and from all of this, I wouldn't change anything, even the bad stuff, because without all of that, I wouldn't have these amazing babies, which are teenagers, not so much babies. But yeah, all of that affected my self-worth. And after I had each kid, I gained even more weight. And the cycle continued to repeat. You're not good enough. You're too fat. You're too ugly. You're too dumb. When I tried taking up running, I mean, it was literally around the block. I'd get our dog early in the morning. It's dark, and he's a big dog, and I was laughed at. Why are you even trying? It's not going to do anything for you. It's pointless. You're too fat. It's never going to work. So there was never any support in that. And I still tried off and on for a few months because I liked running. I liked the thought of trying to get better or go faster. And it didn't stick because of what I was being told. So ultimately, my babies were 1 and 2, and I had alienated pretty much all of my friends. I had my best friend that I talked to, but even so, I never told her about the abuse, about being slammed up against the wall, being held there, by his forearm, pushed up, being screamed at, having holes punched right by my face because, he wanted to scare me into doing what he wanted. I kept all this stuff aside. I never called the police because I thought that was going to make things worse. So finally, when I had seen that, and I became a super sleuth through all of this, I really lost my hope to live and be any kind of normal person. But I also always wanted to know that I wasn't crazy. And someone was telling me I was crazy all the time, that I didn't see this bag of meth, that I didn't smell what I knew was drugs. So those kind of mental things really stuck and drove home with me. They're really, really awful. So finally I had seen or found, because I did go searching for it. Again, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. And I found a baggie of meth, the pipe that was used to smoke it, and the lighter in a little tool bag in the kids' playroom. And at that time we were living at his parents' house. So, obviously, because life was not okay. Um, and that was it. I needed that to show me that I need a better life, and something is really wrong. I knew it was already wrong for me, but I couldn't continue it for my babies. That's not the life for them. So um, he went to rehab, and I knew I couldn't leave any other way. So his parents had gone on vacation because whatever. But um, even in talking to him at the rehab, he was a different person when we were alone versus the counselor. Like, I'll kill you. You'll never see the kids again. I'll take them from you if you try to leave, all of that. And so I was scared. But in front of the counselor, it was a very different story. Oh, I want to get better. I want to work this out and all of that. So while everyone was gone, I reached out to my best friend. I reached out to my sister, and I just packed our clothes and their cribs, and we got out. I was able to escape, and it was scary. And I double and triple thought about it all the time. Did I make the right decision? Because I have someone that's been telling me for years that I'm not smart enough. And, when they wear you down and they tell you these things, you absolutely believe them. And over that amount of time, I believed everything. So I left, and I didn't file for divorce for a couple years because I was still scared. And even through that, he had taken the kids the times I allowed them to go over, which I, was okay as long as the parents were there. But I guess everyone was in on it, where the kids were taken and I wouldn't see them for days on end, and I wouldn't hear from them, and I wouldn't know where they are, how they're doing. And, it was a nightmare. I ended up filing for divorce, and that was a years long struggle. And the same thing, like, I had so much gaslighting for all those years. I was still never okay with myself. And the bulimia and the anorexia kicked in so hard during that time because that was my only means of control, and it's awful. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So my weight, fluctuated because when I wasn't doing that, then I started overeating. And I knew that's not the life, but I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So I ended up going to therapy, and that helped immensely. I haven't gone in, I think, like a year, but I would absolutely recommend it to anyone struggling or second guessing themselves. It helped with everything from A to Z in life, and especially with the eating disorders. But it took a while for that. Let's see. Mr. Rain, sorry, I don't know if it's a miss. Rainbow, proud of you for sharing your experience. You're not alone. So I know it takes a lot to get out of these situations. Absolutely. And it takes good people around you and people that trust you and are just there. I don't have like a gigantic group of core friends, but I have a small chunk. And for me, it's quality over quantity, because these people have helped me in ways, you just can't imagine throughout this journey. So, yeah, I had met him in 1999, and I escaped in 2009. So it was a lot in those 10 years, a lot of lows, a lot of body fluctuations, and a lot of mental physical and emotional trauma. So I couldn't have the kids be part of that. It continued throughout the court process, and somewhere along the lines of that, I met my amazing husband. That was about 3 years after I escaped, and I really focused on myself. I focused on the babies, and it was amazing because I wasn't going to give up on love. I knew there's great people out there, but you're just going to come across like the caca ones from time to time. And I hit the jackpot on that caca one. But, I wouldn't change anything because it made me who I am today. And even after I met my now husband, I binged and purged. I wouldn't eat. I would eat like just a little, enough of when I was around him to make him think that I'm like normal and that everything was okay, even though it very much wasn't. And I did that for years because when you go this long, it's very normal to you to keep it inside and just keep it away from everyone. And you don't have to deal with it. So I started exercising again. I started running, and he was so appreciative and realized that that was something that I'm passionate about and I love. And I could not be more thankful for that support. Life is a night and day difference from what it was. So my thyroid continued to go more and more on vacation, stop working. And, even though I'm taking medicine for it, the whole lifestyle didn't work. I was happy, but I was also eating a lot more. And with the thyroid not working, even doing all that exercise, I would run 6 miles at least 4 times a week. And for me, it was an all-out run because I was so heavy, but it was difficult. And I pushed myself and my heart rate was super high, but I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen on my own. And when I was trying so hard for so long, for over a year, and nothing was happening, I knew that I needed to go a little stronger in what I was trying. Even up until then, I was doing different fad diets. I tried keto, which was delicious, but it didn't help for me. I just tried eating less. I tried eating better things. I tried not eating so many carbs, and it just wasn't in the works for me. So finally, 2020 was just after I did that second marathon and I got to the finish line so late, everything was pretty much wrapped up. The finish line banner's already gone. There's just a few people there to hand out the medals to us. I knew there has to be something better than this. And I had wanted to talk to him about VSG, but I was also concerned, what is my husband going to say? Is he going to think I'm giving up? What, is he going to, and I knew he never would talk down to me, but coming from all of those years, it's very much ingrained in your head that this could go really wrong. And I could be super vulnerable and it will crush me because I have depression. Depression kicked in through those years in my former life, and it goes on hiatus, but it's something that'll never go away. Let's go to this. Oh, thank you. That's great that you finished the race and didn't give up. Thank you. It was incredibly challenging, and there were many points that I was ready to give up. Pretty much from mile 3 to 26, because it was so hard, and I'm I'm gonna come in dead last. Everything's gonna be cleaned up. the street cleaners, you know, by I think mile 11 for me, the street cleaners were already coming. Maybe it was a little later than that. And the police pull you off. They get on their loudspeakers. They tell you, get to the sidewalk, you know, the big trash man come and they're swirling through. So you have no other choice but to get to the sidewalk. And I felt so defeated. But number one, I was doing it for charity. I was doing a fundraiser through our nonprofit, and I knew I couldn't give up for them. And secondly, I couldn't give up on myself. I wanted to complete something I was, you know, set out to do. That's my husband. And I didn't bring tissues here because I didn't think this was going to happen. Yeah, surgery scares me. I can run and walk on crutches. Hey, you're doing it. You know, we all start somewhere. So run and walk on crutches. Get it, girl. Surgery scared me a little bit. And, but I had so many and I was just like, okay, you know, it's another one. And we'll see what happens. You know, it's worth a try. So when I talked to my husband about it, he said, you know, I was just gonna ask you about that. Like, do you want to try and get VSG surgery? And, you know, yes, I wanted to try. I wanted to jump through the hoops with Kaiser, figure out what I needed. And this was during the pandemic. So, you know, everything's on lockdown. I think with it being on lockdown, I kind of like, I didn't have to lose as much weight as a lot of people do in this process, mainly because of like the pandemic. Everything was so crazy, and that's just how it worked out for me. I think I maybe lost 10 pounds, but you know, you have to get medically cleared for it. You have to talk to the therapist. You have to get your physical stuff cleared. So mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. And because I've been with a therapist for so long, you know, that kind of like worked itself out. The physical thing lost a little bit, but they could see through the things I've shown them, like I'm actively doing things. I'm running all these miles and it's not working. I have that thyroid against me, and you know, I was trying. So I got the surgery and went in scared, but I always am. I mean, I've had 2 C-sections. I've had a bunionectomy on my right and my left foot. I've had my appendix out. I've had my gallbladder out. I've had my tonsils out. So I've been into the operating room a bit. And yeah, go in there. I didn't want the Roux-en-Y because I didn't want them to kind of like readjust intestines and put other things in their place and just like reroute things. I wanted for me and my body, and what was comfortable in my head was just clip the excess stomach, get me down to that small size, and I'm going to do whatever you say from that point, because it really feels like a second chance. And that's what I did. So I chose the gastric sleeve. I just did the laparoscopic thing. I have a video where I showed, you know, what my skin looks like now. And it was fine. There's also a video showing me going in there that day and coming out, what I looked like, what I felt like. A lot of it, the first like couple days was just, you know, sleeping, but I still had to get up. I had to walk around because you can't form those blood clots. So ultimately, I knew I had to do these, what were going to be difficult things, after the surgery to be healthy. And I'm not going to mess up this second chance because it's just not worth it to me. And life is so much better now because of that. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting VSG surgery. And it was the best decision I've ever made, aside from, escaping that former life. And, now I'm sticking to these vitamins. I've got my workout thing. I've come really far, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm so grateful for all of the experiences, because without those, I wouldn't appreciate them to the level that I do now. I mean, I'm on this 2023 Los Angeles Marathon ambassador team, like some stuff that I never thought would be possible because of the things that were implemented, the things that were told to me for years. You're never good enough. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. And look, like, I am with an amazing VSG community of people. We all are here cheering each other on. We share our experiences. We learn from each other. We say, like, hey, I'm scared. This is why. I was scared. This is what happened. We all have our own journey. I'm with this amazing running community. I didn't even look for running clubs years ago because I was thinking that they're just going to be like, oh my gosh, who is this fat person trying to come in and run with us? And the reality is that was just me. That's my own insecurities. That was something in my head because I was conditioned to believe that. And when you go to running clubs, everyone is so inviting. There's always a pace for whatever yours may be. If you are just starting out and you're walking, guess what? There's going to be some kind of pace group, a leader, another 1, 2, 3 people that are going to be in that with you. So, I would only encourage you to go out and hang out with these groups, check out a few different ones, see which one fits and works for you. That's what we've done. But yeah, now I'm going to do the Los Angeles Marathon next weekend, and I couldn't be more excited and to be an ambassador for it. Success is the best. I'm not going to, I don't believe in the whole revenge thing, but it's a great big, couple fingers up to that person that said, you'll never do this. And yeah, look at me now. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions later on, throw it in the comments of this thing. I'll definitely answer. But that was a 28-minute version, a recap of my life and what choices led to this and how I'm so grateful for it, because yeah, I wouldn't be me without it. And I love my life, depression and all. We all got things, and it's okay. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know if you have anything to ask, and yeah, I'll be on there. So until next time, sending light, love, and happiness. And then I close this.